Okay, so today I'm going to be going over framework. So framework is the very first part of your speech, the very first part of the case that you read in your first speech. And what is framework? Framework has 3 parts under it. And the 3 parts are value, value criterion, and justifications. So let's see. To describe this in a visual way, this is what it is. So the biggest circle is framework. Everything inside of it is part of framework. The next biggest is value. And under value, there are value criterion and justifications. And inside of the value criterion, there's the justifications. Like this. Yeah? Okay. Now let's go over each of the little parts and how to use them in the debate round. First, value. First is value. So what is a value? A value is what you support in the round. And the value is usually morality or justice. It is not always morality or justice, but usually it is morality or justice. And all of the rules I'm teaching you today are used in more simple debate. Later on, there's things like ethical frameworks and things like that may bend the rules a little bit, but for simple debate, for the basic general debate, for the rules that you need to know now, it's what I'm going to teach you today. So value, most of the time there are 2 things, morality or justice. The value is the biggest thing that you're going to support. Everything under the value links back into the value. Like the value criterion and the justifications, they're all supporting the value. Morality or justice. Next part, value criterion. What is a value criterion? A value criterion is how you are going to achieve your value. The value criterion is usually a phrase or a sentence about how you're going to achieve your value. And then your justifications. The justifications are basically, why is your value criterion better than other people's value criterion? The whole point of debate is to win your side of your argument, right? So why is your side better? Or why is your value criterion better? Those are the justifications. There's usually 2 or 3. Okay. So how do these function in the round? First, for the value, you need to win this, like the most important thing for you to win, the first thing you need to win. Because for example, if your value was justice and your value criterion was donating to charities, okay? That's how you're going to achieve justice, just for example. And your judge says, well, I don't want to achieve justice. I don't think justice is good. Then why should anything after you say matter to him at all, or to her at all, to the judge at all? Because they don't want to support justice. So everything you tell them after this won't matter to them. So you need to win this first. So for instance, if your value was justice and your opponent's value was morality, and say that your judge thinks that they're different. Even though I personally don't, some people believe that morality and justice aren't the same thing, and a lot of people have very good reasons for why they aren't the same thing. So for instance, if your value is justice and your opponent's value is, or your value is justice and your opponent's value is morality, and you say, well, justice is my value, and then your opponent says, well, I think morality is better for this reason. Well, then you have to make sure you respond to that. You have to win. You have to prove to your judge why your side, why justice is better than morality. Otherwise, if your judge believes that morality is better, then you won't win, because everything you say afterwards is linking back to your value because of this. So if they take out this, then everything else is gone. You understand that, right? Okay. The next part is the value criterion. How is this used in round? There are 3 ways to debate the value criterion. And the first way is that you have the same value criterion as your opponent. Very rare, considering that you are affirmative and they are negative, but sometimes I guess it happens. That's one way. Number 2, You use your justifications to prove why your value is better. For instance, justification 1. We should donate to charities because when we donate to charities, it helps the poor people who need our help, and this is good because civilization depends on helping the people who are in need of our help. Something like that. And the second justification, another reason why we should donate to charities or any value criterion that you have. This is an example. So that's number 2. Second way of debating the value criterion is to prove that yours is better. And this would be, for instance, we should donate to charities for A, B, C. And your opponent would respond by saying, no. On the reason A my opponent gave, this is my response. On the reason B my opponent gave, this is my response. On the reason C I gave, this is my response. And then your opponent would say, so now that I've responded to all of their justifications, go look towards my justifications. And my justifications are D, E, F. And then you would have to go back and respond to theirs. And this is the value criterion debate. And again, value criterion debate is second most important. Once you agree on your value, you need to debate your value criterion. As I said before, if you don't have the same value criterion, or you don't prove that yours is better, then anything you say afterwards will not matter. Right? Okay. So, and the third way to debate this is to link in. And what I mean by link in is basically that you say, for instance, my value criterion, for example, my value criterion is donating to charities. And I value morality, and my value criterion is donating to charities. That's mine. And then I give my justifications. I can't think of some right now, so just pretend I gave some justifications. Then your opponent would say, I value morality also. Okay, so that's agreed upon. And my value criterion, however, is building schools, because I think building schools is more important. And my justifications are that building schools can help children. And helping children is most important because children are the future. Okay? Then the third way to debate the value criterion is to link in. And what I mean by linking in is to say that pretend I'm talking to the judge. Even if you don't believe that my value criterion is better, even if you don't believe that we should donate to charities, then I can still link back into my opponent's value criterion. And what this means is that I can also achieve what my opponent is achieving. My opponent says by building schools, they can help children. Well, I can link in by saying, well, I also help children. And in fact, I help more children. So judge, if you think that helping children and building schools is the way to go, then you should if you think that helping children is the way to go, then look towards my case, my arguments, because I actually help more children than my opponent. Yes, that's one way to link it. And so there's 3 ways to debate the value criterion. First way is that you have the same, which is very rare. Second way is to prove solidly that yours is better. So your judge at the end of the round, or after the value criterion debate, will say, okay, I think that Rachel's value criterion is the way to go. And then the third one is to link in. And to link in you would say that, okay, judge, even if you don't think that my value criterion is the best, I can still do the good thing that you think my opponent says even better than they do. So even though you think mine is bad and theirs is good, I can do theirs even better than they can. They say they can save lives. Well, I save 10 lives and they save 1 life. So if I would still win the round because I still do what you want me to do, judge. Right, that makes sense, right? And in debate, the second and third method, which is mine is better and linking in, are used in conjunction. This is to prevent the risk that the judge doesn't think you won your value criterion as much as you think you did. So if you think you've won your value criterion and you just move on, but you don't link in, you don't say that, even if you don't believe my value criterion, I link in, then there's a risk that the judge won't agree with your value criterion, you know? Because you have to establish that if, first of all, you can agree with my value criterion, but even if you don't, I still do my opponents even better than they do. This is a more solid way to win the debate. Okay, now let's go to the justifications. As I said before, in debate, it's back and forth, right? And justifications are used in the 3 methods of debating the value criterion. Justifications are the smallest circle. So, how you would debate the justifications is that I gave justification A, B, C. Then your opponent would say, they would respond to each one, then they would give their own, right? And then you would respond to what they said and defend yours. And then they would respond to what you said and defend theirs. Back and forth, back and forth. And at the end, the judge will say, okay, after they debated back and forth, I think Rachel did a better job. So I think that everything in this round will have to link back to her value criterion. So if you win your value criterion of donating to charities because it helps the people who need help, and the judge agrees with that, if your opponent hasn't linked in, if your opponent is supporting like building schools because building schools helps children and they haven't linked in at all, then that's completely separate. And if they haven't won that, then the judge does not have to look at anything they say because the judge doesn't agree with their premise. And yeah, so let's go over that again. Okay, it's framework, value criterion, and then justifications. Justifications. Framework is these 3 things. The first thing is value, what you support in the round, morality or justice, or any other thing. And then your value criterion, how you are going to achieve your value, which is usually a phrase, like I'm going to achieve my value by blah 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 blah. And justifications, why your value criterion is better than the opponent's value criterion. So I support morality, and I'm going to achieve morality by donating to charities. Why should we donate to charities? Because of A, B, and C. And then your opponent would do the same thing, and then they would say, well, I don't agree with A, B, and C because of blah, blah, blah. Instead, you should look towards D, E, and F because of blah, blah, blah. And then you would go on to respond to D, E, and F, and so on. And as I said before, value first priority. If you don't agree upon the value, or if you don't win your value, nothing after that will matter to the judge. Value criterion is second. Once you agree upon this is the second most important. There are 3 ways to debate it. 1, you have the same value criterion. 2, you argue and you solidly say that yours is better. And you have to make sure the judge agrees with you 100%. But since there's no way to do this, method 2 and 3 are used in conjunction. So what is method 3? Method 3 is to link in. Link in means to basically say, even if you don't think my value criterion is the best way, and you think my opponent's is better, I still do what my opponent says, even better than they do. They say that we need to save lives. Well, I save 100 lives, and they only save 10. That's how you would link in. Method 2 and 3 are used in conjunction. Justifications. Why is your value criterion better? And how you debate this is just the back and forth that I said before. First, you say A, B, C, your opponent responds to those, gives D, E, F, you respond to those, and defend your A, B, C, so on, so on. So, in the end, framework debate comes before everything else, and there are several ways to debate framework in the round. So, yes. And also, you learned some vocabulary today. There is resolution, which is the topic that you're debating. For instance, the resolution right now is justice requires the recognition of animal rights, and which means that to achieve justice, we have to recognize that animals have rights. That's what the resolution is. And then there's case. A case is basically like an affirmative case is basically how the speech that you give that supports the side that you're on, which is affirmative or negative. So if you're on affirmative, you would have an affirmative framework, which has a value criterion, and justifications, and then you would have your arguments and so on. And I'll go over those in the next video. And then the next one is link in. To link in is basically saying that you can connect back to what your opponent said, and you can do it better, or you do it the same level, which neutralizes it, or you do it better, and then you win. And yeah, and as I said before, these are the general rules, and sometimes in a varsity debate, the rules will be bent a little bit, but as of now, this is what you need to know. So you need to know 4 things for today. Framework, under that, value, which is what you support in this round. Value criterion, which is how you're going to achieve it. And justifications, which are why your value criterion is better than your opponent's value criterion. And this is the relationship between all of these things. Framework, value criterion, and justifications. So I hope you understand this, and I will go over contentions and claim, warrant, and impact next time. So today, remember this, and yeah, good luck.